It's not really a sea, it's the Bay of Revachol. And the bay feeds into the ocean. Yes, we're on an island in an ocean, the world's largest body of water, the Elysium.
Known to the early Revacholians as les immensités bleues, the blue immensities.
Revachol? Revachol is what you call a city. The great kind, history detective. They built this city to resolve history. Our part in it, at least. Our centuries. In the DeLorean century. 380 years ago, the nations of the Occident, or migrant workers from Seminine and Ile-Marat, depending on your creed. They say it's where the terrible questions of our time will be answered. The tensions are highest, the fault lines deepest. By that I mean conflicts. Ideological conflicts. The stuff of men. We are standing on a fertile, self-sufficient island able to sustain up to 200 million people in the middle of the Insulindic Ocean, the world's connective tissue. It's where the money is. Oh, we're quite a way off. About...
A sparkle of lights on the horizon, like evening stars.
22 kilometers from the center of the world. That soldering iron is the bank of the world building. The bottom floors are Insiacom. Coalition government, Insulindian Mission Command.
Silence. She lowers her. The water, the light. It's as though you're seeing it for the first. There is no recognition. Only the immensity of the sea and the cold radiating from it.
We are where we are. I have no truer answer to give, unfortunately.
This is one thought you need to complete. Where...
Was there something else you wanted to know? I remember something about a lowdown. Glad to have been of assistance. The little that I know. Anything else?
Hello again, officers. Have you come to admire my mural?
tarpaulin cloak with possible RCM markings is still caught on the... tarpaulin cloak with possible RCM markings is still caught on the railing. A tarpaulin cloak with possible RCM markings is still caught on the railing. As you leap in the air, a chilly breeze engulfs you, sharpening your senses. Ankles tingling from the tension, blood roaring in your ears. You are ready for your rendezvous with the concrete pavement below. As the concrete floor welcomes you, you realize it's been a while since you felt so alive, alert, capable. Must be the adrenaline.
I knew you could do it. My climbing down might not have been as disco as your jump, but at least we can explore the harbor now.
With your feet firmly planted on the concrete, the noise of the harbor rushes back in. Control panel with several knobs. 2 buttons marked Marsh and Arrête are faded with use. It seems to control the large crane above. A container is attached. Marsh on. Arrête off. With a loud grind, the crane shifts overhead, moving a massive metal container through the air. With a surprisingly quiet thunk, the crane places the container down. The harbor sleeps as the strike rages in the distance. The crane can rest again, now that its purpose has been fulfilled. Moving this container, of course. For this purpose it was built. For this purpose it has acted.
I can't see how that was worth the ruckus, except for seeing the crane in action, which I admit was satisfying.
Before you stands a cargo container, just one of many in the yard.
You do? Because there are a million containers here. Why are you fixating on this one? You just picked one out because you wanted to interact with a cargo container. We are not here to interact with containers. We are here to talk to the Union, right?
You attempt to turn the handle, to no avail. To your left, the lieutenant considers your actions with some puzzlement. No reply. The knock produces a hollow ring of metal. Doesn't sound like there's anything inside the... This is the night watchman's booth. The name on the door reads, René Arnaud. Listen, it's okay to take a few minutes to yourself. Sit down and have a breather.
If you must. But please hurry. We are pretty easy to spot up here.
Nothing incriminating catches your eye. The cabinets are clean and their sparse contents meticulously organized. There's a framed photograph. Looks like the inhabitant is rather pedantic when it comes to order. It's a black and white photo of a young couple out in a street fair. The man, René, is dressed in a Royal Carabinier uniform. The girl is young and very pretty. She is...
Why did you take that picture of René? You're really interested in that old soldier. Not sure I understand your fascination, but sure, as long as it doesn't take up a whole lot of time.
The chair is not as austere as the rest of the booth. A thin grey pillow is attached to the seat, secured to the stiles by black ribbons. Stale air floods through your nostrils. Not a single mote of dust floats inside your lungs, though. The inside of the booth is immaculate. The drawers are empty, save for old timesheets and receipts. One small box, however, does hold some cheap painkillers. They are slightly out of date. Oh boy, where to start? Elevated risk of dementia, mini strokes, prophet's disease, sudden death, hair death. Maybe this was a bad idea. You stand and exit the booth. This is the Night Watchman's boot. An imposing combination of a punch clock and a payphone is looking down at you from the wall. A note on the side says, "Tokens unavailable." On second glance, someone has forgotten to
It's unfortunate for the Union to just leave their paperwork lying around like this.
The drawer opens smoothly. Inside is a well-organized hundreds of documents containing logistical data. Two kinds of transactions stand out. Materials coming into Revachol and the same materials being handed over to companies inside Revachol. Kuron, Coal City, La Delta, and Jamrock are listed among them. It's hard to make sense of this thicket of company names, dates, quantities, and percentages. You try to focus, but the lines are getting blurred. The drawers. The front of this quarterly journal features a large satirical portrait of the late King Friesel. From the sides of his head, a pair of white antlers spread to because Friesel was incompetent, foolish, and cruel. In short, the embodiment of everything the communards wished to overthrow. It's satire, you see. To your disappointment, there aren't any full-color pictures to direct your attention. Just column after column of closely set text, interrupted occasionally by little doodles in black and white. No advertisements, you notice. So who's funding this? After rifling the pages with your thumb the magazine is divided into several sections. International developments. Kunst, comrade, as you know, this journal takes its name from Mazov's immortal expression, du cristal à la fumée. This was his way of describing the way the rigid, crystalline structures of capitalist ideology turn to smoke under communism. But, like the structures of capitalist ideology, we too are at risk of going à la fumée, unlike many publications which are content to spoon-feed their readers reassuring drivel. La Fumée is committed to telling the radical truth, even when that truth may drive away potential subscribers. Only 4 issues in, and it sounds like they've already alienated. Perhaps they've overestimated the market demand for this kind of commentary. So please, If you value our radical Mazovian perspective on contemporary politics, culture, and international affairs, please consider subscribing today. Yours in struggle, the editors.
What do you expect? It was laying around the office of the Debarders Union. They're probably bankrolling.
You flip back to the front of the magazine. The table of contents unfolds before you. This section includes a long, tedious critique of the latest round of free trade negotiations between the EPIS nations and the free. You also skip over an article about heavy fuel oil smuggling along the Messina border. Something about bear wrestling. Face it, you really aren't interested in foreign affairs. You flip back to the front of the magazine. It takes a moment, but gradually it dawns on you that Kunst und why they decided to title this one, obviously because it's cool to drop. As you leaf through this section, you come across several reviews of recent radio plays, as well as a brief artist spotlight. The main feature, though, is a long essay titled Tip Top Tournée, a critical Mazovian perspective. This so-called artist spotlight is really just a brief Q&A, made all the briefer by the subject's evident hostility to her interviewer. The actual article is surprisingly light on details, but after skimming a page or two, you gather that it has something to do with, if you don't follow it, you only ever hear about the ludicrous sponsorships and obscene death toll. You think you're settling in for a relaxing recap of the most recent season, maybe sprinkled with some nice anecdotes. Instead, you find yourself skimming a 10,000-word feature about all the politically problematic aspects. Where to even start? For one, there's the crass commercialism of its sponsorships, and then there's the practically criminal emphasis. So, all of it, basically. Oddly enough, this article has 2 bylines. Nasteb and Kalada, but there's no way those are... Have you ever met anyone named Exilus? Come on, they're plainly pseudonyms. And that precisely is what's problematic about it. Were it not for the promise of random, spectacular violence, audiences would quickly lose. At the end of the day, it's the destruction of these 750,000 real races that you're really watching for. You see, one cannot avoid the conclusion that Tip Top Tournée is simply the apotheosis of spectacular entertainment under capitalism.
I can safely say the thought had never crossed my mind, Detective. I'm sure most things are, if the young men who wrote this article... If I had to wager, I'd say they've never even seen the inside of a motor, much less a motor race. I take whatever they write with a large grain of salt.
You flip back to the front of the magazine. The table of contents, unsurprisingly, much of this section is taken up with articles declaring unqualified. You skim the headlines. Paint the harbor red and white. Martinez tames the wild pines. A city in revolt. First, we take Martinez. Finally, there's a brief article by the writer, G. Martin, accusing the owner of the Capeside apartments of illegally attempting to evict certain communist tenants simply for not having paid their rent. According to these editorials, there can be no accommodation with the forces of international capital. You flip back to the front of the magazine. What's this? We're getting reports of normal, reasonable, temperate political opinions somewhere in Martinez. Of course, a radical centrist. In these bright and loud times where 1,000 frequencies drown one another, it's time to become a citizen of the kingdom of conscience. I knew we could trust you. Remember, real democracy is just around the corner for Revachol. When that real democracy kicks in,